New Gallup poll is out on the media, and it is pretty damning. So take a look at this. U.S. adults' average estimates of the percentage of bias, inaccuracy, and misinformation seen in news coverage. So you have the lighter bar there is traditional news media. The darker is social media. So it's a little okay, so what does that include? Probably Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. So for traditional news media, to be fair, social media does a lot worse than traditional news media because there's so many like Facebook memes that idiot right-wingers post as like, oh, we got him. Hillary Clinton's a demon, like shit like that. So yeah, so social media is a particular cesspool in many respects. But traditional media doesn't do very well either. So look at this. The percentage of people that say traditional news media is biased. 62%. 62%. Well over half the country watches mainstream media and goes, this shit is biased. Now, this is where, a good liberal would come out and say, oh, unbelievable. The irrationality of the population is out of control. Yes. In fact, that's a rant I've heard like Bill Maher make before of like, everybody's such an idiot. It's like, oh, wow, sophisticated analysis, Bill. But no, the fact of the matter is this is a long time coming where that trust has been eroded for a very long time. It's not like the American people woke up and just said, nah, I choose not to trust the powers that be today. No, it's built up over the years. The mainstream media in this country lied us into the Iraq War. Or at the very least, they did the bidding of the Bush administration who was lying us into war, and they were just unwitting fucking agents of that. So, think about that. An offensive war against a country that didn't attack us killed minimum 200,000 civilians. We did torture. When all was said and done, it's going to cost $7 trillion. And they actively fired people who were voices of skepticism on that front. The mainstream media called torture enhanced interrogation because the Bush administration wanted them to do that. So what happens is, usually in traditional media, you have what's called an establishment bias, where they define the parameters of the debate. And oftentimes, the parameters they define are ridiculous. They look at a guy like Bernie Sanders like, oh my God, some pie in the sky lefty, no chance of being president. People aren't going to like him. Oh my God, he's really old. And so they say, okay, you can go as far right as like Ted Cruz, and you can go as far left as like Chuck Schumer, and then that's the spectrum that's reasonable. But that's all corporatist, that's all neoliberal, that's all warmongering. So people are sick of it, man. When you turn on CNN, what do you get? Talking points for both the Democrats and the Republicans. No hard-hitting analysis, no real fact-checking, no discussing of serious issues. Every now and then they might sprinkle in a segment, but most of the time it's just garbage. When you turn on MSNBC, it's cheerleading for the Democratic Party. Yay, Democrats! Rah, rah, Democrats! Fox News, it's cheerleading for the Republican Party and for Donald Trump. So, yeah, when you turn on traditional media, it's a cesspool of bias. It's either bias for Republicans, bias for Democrats, bias for both, bias for the establishment, bias towards neutrality. But actually, you know what? That's the other point I wanted to make about this, is people say it's biased. And the interpretation from the establishment, when people say, oh, the news is biased, you know how they're going to interpret that? They're simply going to interpret that as, oh my God, you're saying we have a liberal bias. And in order to counteract that perception of yours, we need to be more neutral. This is how the establishment is going to think when they see a poll like this. Oh my God, 62% of people say we're biased. And they think we're biased in favor of in a liberal direction. So we need to be more neutral in order to counteract that perception. But what's the problem with that? The problem is being neutral is a bias. Because saying neutrality is correct by definition is implying that the answer is always 50-50, that there's always two reasonable sides of a discussion. Well, it doesn't require that much of a stretch here to disprove that notion. Think about creationism. Is it the reasonable thing to do to say, hey, these people say that the Earth was created 6,000 years ago and humans rode fucking dinosaurs, and these people say, no, evolution happened and the world is 4.54 billion years old and the universe is 13.9 billion. And listen, some things there are not two sides. So the mainstream media is going to fall into a trap when they look at these numbers, and they're going to go, oh my God, we're biased. People think we're biased. Let's counteract that by having a neutrality bias, which is still biased. So the real answer for the media and the way to gain people's trust back is very simple. Truth-telling. That's it. You got to tell the truth. You just got to try to stick to the objective facts as much as possible. And you can be aggressive on that front. If a politician comes on one of your shows and they're lying their fucking ass off, hold them to task. That you're not being biased when you do that. You're truth-telling. You're being objective. And objectivity is really all that matters. Neutrality is bullshit. Objectivity is what matters. So, but they're never going to do that, which is why I think 62% say mainstream media is biased. And that's another part about what's happening in the age of Trump that's really scary, is that now there's some credibility to it when he screams fake news. That it's like the boy who cried wolf. You guys were so wrong for so long about so much that now, even if you happen to be right on something against Trump, it might not land, because when he screams fake news at you, sometimes it is fake news, whatever he's talking about. And so you make a fucking ass of yourself. So unfortunately, the institutions that brought us Trump have not sufficiently reformed, where trust from the public is back in those institutions and against the government. But at this point, I think, to be fair, when you look at the polls, there's no trust in Trump and there's no trust in the media, which I think is the correct position. It's just sad that that's the nature of reality, that the government is failing everybody, whether it's Trump or Congress with like a fucking 15% approval rating, and the media is failing people if 62% say, yeah, you're biased.